Hello and welcome to a BC cosplay video. I'll be taking you through the entire making process. The templates, as always, are down in the description and free to use. Please be aware they're only going to show you how to build sort of the base shape of the model. You'll see me tweak parts and you'll see that you'll have to add all the little details on yourself, all of which I'll show you how to do as the video goes on. Please leave a like, please subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into the build. For this video I'm not going to focus on how I've produced the initial templates, but I have captured the footage of me developing the initial cardboard model, so I may well show you that in another video that will focus on sort of the initial stage. Now the foam I've used isn't actually bought from a proper craft website. It's not actually intended to be used for craft. I've actually bought a sleeping roll that's used for camping. It cost me an amazing $4.99, and for the amount of foam you get, it's much better value than what you're going to get if you're looking for the specific foam used for craft. I'll link it down in the description, the one I bought. I decided that I'm going to take you through the building process using a series of both images and clips. It'll hopefully make it a bit easier for you to follow the different stages and see what I'm doing. One of the most difficult bits is trying to position piece 8, which is like the front of the face, behind the side panel of piece 1, because you've got to try and get it to be in the right position on each side. So to do it, you've got to look at the dash markings on piece 8, and you've got to get it to line up with the shape of the side panel, like it is in this photo here. So perhaps the most difficult section of the mask to create is the bottom curved edge of the helmet. So I'll start off adding on the piece 9, the semicircle in the templates, intervals of 3 centimeters apart to work my way along the edge. And then I cut a straight strip that was 9.5 centimeters wide of foam, and then bent that around and glued that. After I did that, I realised that it was looking too wide right at the very back. I wanted the mask to look narrower and look sleeker. Took the back bits off, took the semicircles off, and then made those narrower to then hopefully bring the curve in more inwards at the back. I think the mistake I made as well is that rather than cutting a straight strip to bend around the semicircles, I should have used piece 10, the inner of the bottom edge, and that's about 5 centimeters wide. So if you were to make that piece 9.5 centimeters wide all along it, and then use that to bend around the semicircles, in theory I think that would give you perhaps just an easier time with bending it around and a neater overall finish. I attached part 4 to both sides just in the corner there, but then I realised that I wanted to change the shape of the eyes. They were looking too small and the front of the face was almost touching the top of the mask, whereas if in the source image you can see that there's a good sort of centimetre gap in between those two surfaces. So I decided to cut a triangle on each side, cutting a width of 0.5 centimetres on the top line, and then drew a line straight down and then cut those triangles and rejoined it to make the form of the front incline more inwardly, like into the mask. I then just cut a small thickness away from the bottom of the eye line to make them wider. So then, because I've obviously altered that section, I then had to make some minor adjustments to the front face panels, and you'll see here there are two different thicknesses that I've cut away from these pieces. The thinner one is 5mm and the larger one is simply a centimetre. I glue in this very small piece there, and I put another one exactly the same further up to close it at the top. I trimmed those two lines and also decided to put a little cardboard brace in there in the eye. And so now I'll move on to adding on these small side details. There's 3 things to add on: the 2 circles and that elongated drop back feature. For that I basically draw out a 3cm by 1cm rectangle and round off the top and bottom. It's cut out onto a piece of paper so that I can better locate it on each side. I cut that shape then out of the double-sided foam that I glued up earlier, that I used for the 2 front pieces, and then used that to sort of create the indentation of that shape on the surface. And then I simply just cut the 2 circles out using the double-sided foam again and stuck those on. For the rectangular indented shapes on the back of the mask, with a black pen, I just drew those on by hand, cut them out with the craft knife, and then again, like I did with the feature on the side, just cut the same shapes out using the doubled up foam, and then push those into the shape to create the indentations. If you look at this image now, from way back before when I was sort of slotting in that strip into the rest of the mask. I think that was a bad idea, because as you can see now I'm having to make this piece to fill in the gap that was left behind from me tucking that strip in. I should have left that open up until this point and then glued that down the side to fill in that gap in between the vents and the bottom curved edge. And the final thing I have to do before the actual building is complete is add in this small strip just behind the top of the eye line so that I can bring the surface back for the visor to rest on when I do put it in. Once I've given the mask 2 decent coats of PVA glue and it's fully dry, I then wanted to have a go at plastering in to try and remove any of the imperfections that I couldn't avoid, or imperfections from mistakes that I've made. The big one being the extra little piece I had to put in on the side from where I made a nasty mistake in cutting the piece too short. So I decided I wanted to try and do a kind of plaster PVA combination. It was very difficult to sand back off, so I'm still unsure of how good it is. Once my plaster had then dried, obviously, and after I'd sanded it back, I then went over with a much thicker PVA coat than the first 2 that I gave it, to really try and layer it up and create a smooth and flat surface that was then good for painting. So the way I went about my painting is added on a quick layer of black acrylic paint to act as my prime layer and my base coat before I start spray painting. Once my acrylic paint was dry, I gave that a sanding down to make it smooth, and then after I did that I went in at the front with a silver spray paint to get the metallic effect at the front. I then went back to my desk, masked all the silver paint areas off, and then I could begin with the gloss black. I took the masking tape all back off to reveal the silver parts, and then went in again with a bit of black acrylic to sort of wear the silver down, because it was definitely looking, as you'll see, too neat to achieve the right effect for this mask. To complete the helmet, I made my visor using black window tint. I cut out a 22cm by 3.5cm rectangle, put some bits of double-sided sticky tape on either end and a little piece in the middle to centre it when I position it inside the mask. And there we go, the mask is complete. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do take a look around the rest of the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Goodbye.